Excuse me. Okay, well, good morning to everyone who's here so far. We'll be starting the session shortly. We're just waiting for the Facebook live stream to begin and for a few more participants to come.
Barbara, you have to switch off the stream as soon as he's speaking, or use your headphones, because you're echoing back into Adobe badly. Or maybe that echo was from me, sorry. At my
Hello, live stream.
Okay, so I guess the live stream is on. We'll get ready to start then. Excuse me. So, okay, yes, we're just past the start time. I shall begin. Let's just make sure I don't forget to start the recording. Right, well, hello everybody, and welcome to the third and final day of the 6th Virtual Roundtable online conference. My name's David Dodgson, and I'm a moderator for this morning's Asian Symposium sessions. These sessions are being recorded, so they can be displayed on the Virtual Roundtable website later. If you consent to the recording, please just type yes into the chat box. If you don't, you can always watch the recording of the session later. Okay, so as I said, my name's Dave Dodgson. I'm based in Ankara in Turkey, and I'll be your moderator for Barbara and Stephen's sessions this morning. If you'd like to take a moment to introduce yourselves through the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, you could just tell us and which field of education you work in. That would be great. And while you do that, I will this morning's speaker. It's a pleasure actually to introduce Barbara this morning. When I first started working with online networks a few years ago, Barbara was one of the first people I connected with, and yeah, I can kind of credit Barbara as one of the few people who kind of got me kick-started with all my blogging and tweeting activities. Okay, so I'll just introduce Barbara, and then I'll hand the microphone over to her, and our session will begin. Okay. So Barbara Hoskins Sakamoto, I hope I've said your surname correctly, has taught both English and ESL in the United States and EFL in Japan for more than 25 years. She earned her BA from Western Oregon University and her master's in TESOL from Northern Arizona University. Barbara has conducted workshops throughout Asia, the US and Latin America, and is co-author of the best-selling Young Learners Let's Go series, Oxford University Press. She is also a founding member of the JOLT Teaching Children Special Interest Group, Her motto is always try new things. So these days, when she's not teaching, writing, or giving workshops, you'll often find Barbara online exploring the potential of social media for professional development. If you'd like to explore with her, you can usually find Barbara on her award-winning blog, Teaching Village, and I will just share the link for that now. And so I'll now hand it to Barbara. It's all yours.
Thank you. Okay. I have been experiencing a bit of lag with Adobe, so if I start freezing or if you start noticing that things don't match, do let me know. Actually, it's like working with friends here. You know, both Dave and Anne and others actually have been guest authors on Teaching Village, and Heike was one of the first people who taught me how not to walk through things in Second Life and how to get about. And so it's interesting that the longer I work online, the more I'm working with people who have very basic internet connection. So you're going to notice when I'm doing these slides that they're pretty boring, because most of the time when I'm working in Adobe and where I'm working on other online platforms, the goal is to try to keep the strain on participants' computers as low as possible. And that's going to be one of the topics in the keynote too. So is Adi the only person who can't hear me, or is everybody else okay? Okay. Yeah, Adi, things are going out for me and coming in later too. So if nothing else, there'll always be a recording, and I live for the recording sometimes. One of the things, Dave introduced me as working with teacher training in different countries, and a lot of that was through my publisher. And I've been traveling around working with teachers for about 20 years now, so things have changed quite a bit. But one thing that I have really come to believe is that every teacher in the world deserves a chance to become a better teacher. And that sounds like it's a really simple thing, but in practice, there are a few challenges to that possible. These are a couple of the places that, little indication. So I've got Ecuador over there, and Fukushima about 3 years ago, and then Indonesia about 2 years ago. And all of those were because of my work through the publisher. And the reason I mention that is not because I want you to know that I wrote a book, but in most of those textbook is high tech. And most of the people know about professional development through the publisher. Right? They don't have that much access to Facebook or Twitter for professional development, or if they do have access, they don't use it. And so in those cases, doing professional development means traveling to the location and doing a workshop. And while it was always wonderful, it was really frustrating because you can't travel often, right? So if I go to Ecuador, it's probably a one-time visit. And when I was there, I would meet teachers coming, 200 kilometers from the rainforest. Or when I go to northern Thailand, they travel the same distance and it's all on their own money. And I all wish that I could do more. But there wasn't the technology to make it possible. And so there's a combination here of a large group of teachers whose main connection to professional development has been through the publishers and subsidized by publishers. Okay, and now we have the internet with everything online and everything free. And tons of resources for teachers. So now, This is your chance to tell me, what are some of the ways teachers become better teachers? You can type it in the chat. So what are some of the ways that are available to teachers to improve? Webinars like this, often free. Everybody's got webinars on the brain right now, right? Seminars, like face-to-face. Blogging, excellent. Connecting with professionals. HIFA, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but what do you mean by connecting with professionals? Reading journals. Self-reflection, that's a good one, Lindsay. Organizing a conference, that's certainly a learning experience in itself. Attending a conference is as well. Following groups and communities, okay. And attending webinars, experimentation, those are all wonderful. I'm surprised a little bit to see no one mentioning certificate courses or university courses, but all of the others came up. And so there are unlimited online resources to the point that it's hard to keep track of them anymore, right? And conferences, it seems like, I know this weekend of at least 3 conferences that are in conflict with what we're doing here. Workshops. We just finished doing a workshop yesterday in Jakarta, and I participated in that from Japan, but most of it was face-to-face. Books. Right, you can always, and unfortunately for the authors, you can usually download most of the books now. Certificate courses, the SALTA, the Delta, TESOL certificates, or university courses. You can get an MA in TESOL, you can get in something else. But with all of those available, you would think that every teacher in the world would be taking advantage of them. And yet, typically, you see the same people in the same online networks. And that's a wonderful thing. It makes you feel loved and you have a lot of fun with your friends. But you don't see a lot of teachers who don't even know they exist. So why don't teachers take advantage? Why aren't more teachers here at Virtual Roundtable? Why isn't everybody taking a CELTA? Why isn't anybody doing an online certificate or an online degree? Why don't more people go to conferences or workshops? Why don't they do it? And so much of it is actually free. I'm looking for your answers in the chat. Do you know teachers? Okay. So some people don't take the profession seriously. Expensive for a lot of teachers. Money again. Now, do you know teachers in your own networks who don't participate in professional development? Think of the reasons that they would give you. Does language ever come up? Because most online opportunities are in English. Time is a problem. They don't give any reasons. Okay. Okay, and so we have to have face-to-face and online math. Okay, some of the reasons that I found over the years, it comes down to 4 basic reasons. The first reason that I found is fear. And this is particularly important with online events like this, but it can also be a factor in international conferences or international workshops. A lot of it, and this is particularly true with teachers who have a low level of English or don't have a lot of training. They're afraid to put themselves in a position where they might be made fun of. or they might be ridiculed for their lack of experience. You know, if everybody is always growing and, you know, online everybody looks like a fabulous teacher. Nobody ever broadcasts their failures. So it's easy to think that, you know, you're the only one who isn't a good teacher. Or, you know, if you go to a conference and you don't know anybody, you can spend $2,000 and be very lonely. A lot of teachers who are not comfortable online in English are afraid of having their identities stolen, or having their accounts hacked, or being flamed or attacked by strangers, or even being made fun of. There's a lot of apprehension in connecting online. And you're right, with time, all it takes is time. Once you have to start, then the rest becomes easy. But for a lot of teachers, it's hard to overcome that initial fear. Once they do, they thrive. Okay. Another factor that you mentioned, a lot of you mentioned, was cost. And that is absolutely true. I live in a country with a fairly high currency value. The yen is still pretty strong. And yet, I had to think twice about flying to Glasgow for IATEFL. That was several months' income. Absolutely beyond reach for a lot of teachers who live in countries without a strong currency. The teachers for example, in Indonesia, many of the teachers that I've met, you know, a good income is about $400 US a month. And even attending an international conference in Indonesia is just beyond their budget. So it's expensive to take a university course. It's expensive to take a certificate course. Even online courses are beyond their budgets. Plus, of course, they don't have PayPal. They don't have international cards. And so it's really hard to pay for things outside of their home countries. So things that never really crossed my mind as being an issue are just solid walls preventing a lot of teachers from participating in things. Access is another one. Okay, now the immediate access comes to mind is internet access, and that is a huge problem. A lot of the teachers that I work with around Asia and in Latin America aren't here, and it's not because of the time zone. It's because they don't have a strong enough internet connection to handle Adobe. We spend most of our webinars trying to coach people how to lower the bandwidth requirement, pausing the video, and by turning off slides and things like that. I don't use animations anymore in my video or videos in my presentations because it's just too hard for them to be in the room. And generally, they get kicked out regularly and they have to log back in. Or it doesn't take much for the internet to go down in India or in Indonesia or in Vietnam. The weather takes it out sometimes. There's just a lot of things. But the other reason that access is an issue is a lot of teachers work 6 days a week. When we just did a workshop in Indonesia, I had to send probably 50 letters to schools asking permission for their teachers to take the day off to come for professional development. And a lot of schools did not give them permission because they don't see the value in the teachers becoming better, and they see the loss in them not being there to teach their classes. Teachers in remote islands have, it takes a lot for them to fly or take the train. A lot of the teachers at our workshop yesterday came 14, 15 hours by train, and it was in the same country. They had to fly, and it all adds up. And finally, language. A lot of the teachers who teach English are actually really apprehensive about their own English. and they're afraid to use English with other teachers. They are afraid of showing their weaknesses. They're afraid that people might make fun of them for not having good language skills because they're English teachers. They're afraid of taking a general English class because they teach English. So if you're teaching about using English, you're to go shopping, you don't want to take a language class that teaches you how to go shopping. It's too hard to admit the weakness. But the language is a real barrier. They're afraid of exposing their mistakes. They're afraid they won't be able to catch up or to follow along with a workshop like this, where people are talking or chatting. They don't think that they can keep up with discussions. So those 4 reasons create a lot of barriers. And I'm sure you can think of more, but these are the 4 main. And now my graphic of an iceberg. So rather than telling you what the iceberg means, I want you to give your ideas about why I would choose an iceberg to represent the teaching profession. And let me see. I have to come up with a prize for the first answer, I guess, maybe. But we'll see. How does an iceberg represent teaching? Well, they definitely are cool, but that wasn't what I had in mind. And you can only see the tip, but there's a lot more under the surface. Also true. And you're right, part of it is because a very small percent of the iceberg is what's visible, and the large majority of it is invisible. Those are all really good. Those are all way better than what I had in mind. But all that I really had in mind to show you here is the teachers who are at the VRT, the teachers who you see on Facebook exchanging ideas, the teachers you see at international conferences, the teachers you see on Twitter, the teachers who are joining in with online discussions are the part you can see. You see them because you run into them everywhere you go. You know them online. I recognize so many names in this group, and I adore connecting with you online. And I love that I'm meeting new people here, and I'll be able to connect with you after this. But the part of our profession that you can see online and at conferences is a really, really small percent of the profession. There are, I would say, 90% of teachers around the world are not at these conferences. They're not online. They're not connecting with other teachers. And it's because of fear, cost, access, and language. And so there's a lot of our profession. And sometimes when I meet teachers at conferences, I find them making assumptions that all teachers are like them. That all teachers have universities that give them stipends so they can attend conferences. Or all teachers work at schools that will give them the weekend off to go to a workshop. Or all teachers have internet access. Or if they do have internet access, they all have high-speed internet access. And the vast majority of teachers around the world do not have those things. They're teaching in their homes. They're teaching at small schools. They're teaching without computers. They're teaching without internet. But they want to learn too. They're just as hungry for professional development as everyone else. So 4 of the people that I met online had the same experience that I did. Okay, Chuck Sandy, many of you know. Scott Thornbury, many of you know. Gareth Knight and Stephen Herder had already started talking about the problem of teachers not having access, or the vast majority of teachers who were not being served by traditional professional development. And I was really lucky that they let me join their circle, because they'd all met the same teachers that I had. And they wanted to find a way to help. And finally, the technological development with the internet had caught up with the needs of these teachers. And the solution for us was International Teacher Development Institute. So the idea became a platform. Because teachers were afraid of connecting online, we created a private environment. The only teachers are in the community. It's a very nurturing community. People don't have to be afraid of making mistakes. Because it's private, nobody gets hacked and nobody gets spammed, and it's very closely monitored. So it's also inexpensive, right? The lessons are $9 US, and the teachers only have to pay for the lessons that they actually want to take. So you don't have to sign up for a course. If you just want to learn more about teaching grammar, you can just study teaching grammar. It's in simple English, and that was a big thing for us because there are a lot of professional opportunities online, but a lot of them require teachers to have really good English skills to participate. Quite often when I look at most courses, they're at, you do CFR, like maybe C1 and up. And a lot of teachers are in, like the Bs. Some of them are in the As for language level. And so we decided that you shouldn't have to have strong language skills to learn how to be a better English teacher. You don't need a lot of jargon in order to become a better teacher. And finally, it's online. And not just online, it's really low bandwidth. When you look at a lot of the professional development websites, there's lots of video, lots of animation, lots of flashy graphics. And we look really boring in comparison, I'll have to be honest. We're not the flashiest kid on the block. But any teacher who can go to an internet cafe can access the lessons. Any teacher who has a dial-up modem can access the lessons. So we're not aiming at the top of the iceberg. The top of the iceberg teachers already have a lot of options. And we're trying to meet their needs too, but the teachers who are closest to our hearts are those teachers under the surface of the water who are on old computers. They're using Windows 95, and they're doing the best they can with what they've got available. What we found in everything we've done, and my friend Chuck Sandy is very fond of saying that whatever the problem is, community is the answer. And we found that to be even more than we ever knew it to be. Now, a lot of the faces in this collage will be teachers that you recognize from online. And what they have in common is that they also think that what we're trying to do is important. And they've dedicated themselves and their time and their efforts in trying to help us reach these teachers. So I'm going to take a little look at our logo. You might have seen it around online. Okay? But first of all, my talk topic is about collaboration, right? So our logo begins with collaboration. Orange is the color of collaboration, which you may not have known. But you have to take two colors to make it. Right? You have to have red and you have to have yellow. So it represents collaboration. The circle part of the logo is inclusive. So because we don't want anybody to be left out. So our goal is a really ambitious one. Someday we would like to be able to say that every teacher in the world has access to professional development because every teacher deserves to have access. And finally, a circle is unending. There's no beginning and no end, just like professional development. So we're continually becoming better teachers or trying to be. And so for us, the circle is a good way to express that meaning. But we're not just one circle. We are a circle of circles. So circles linked together because we want teachers to connect with each other because that helps us to grow. Now, I'm totally preaching to the choir here because you all are already really connected. But as I forgot who it was that mentioned it, once you make the connection, the fear goes away and you start becoming comfortable to doing things online and you start to connect with other teachers. But you have to make that initial step, and that's the one that's really hard for a lot of teachers, to make that first connection. And so we're trying to provide a safe place for them to connect with each other. And then they connect with other people on Facebook and Twitter without as much fear. We really are better when we work together, and that's behind all of it. So the point of my presentation, how do teaching skills and language skills improve when you use collaboration? And I bet most of you already understand the answers. But the base of it is that everyone has something to share and everyone has something to learn. Now, a lot of teachers who are at the bottom part of the iceberg, they totally know that they have something to learn. But the problem is they see other people as experts, where they're only in the receiving end. They don't believe that they have anything to share. And that's part of our goal, is to help the teachers understand that they do have something really valuable to share, and we need their voice in the teaching community. We need them to participate because we need to know what it's like to teach in their environment. We need to know how they help their students achieve facing challenges that many of us don't have. So part of it is learning to have confidence in their own teaching and in their own value. And by doing so, we all grow. And interestingly, because in an international community, people have to use English to share those things, language also improves. Using English helps you become better in English. The teachers become more confident with to teach and in talking about teaching. I want to take you inside iTDi just a little bit and show you how we have things set up. And if you have questions along the way, since we have a small group, it's really easy to follow the chat. So if you type your question, I'll try to stop and answer it at the time. We are organized in some ways a lot like what you might expect. We have lessons, right? And taking a lesson is the very first step. The iTDi lessons come with community access. So if you take a lesson, you're automatically included in the community for that lesson. These are autonomous, they're asynchronous. So we have two kinds, and I'll look at the different courses later, but these two lessons, because the internet is so unstable in many parts of the world, the lessons have a combination of video and recorded audio. In fact, in our English for Teachers, which is probably used by teachers with the lowest level of access, we don't even have video. We just have MP3 audio tracks because it's just too hard, and they're all very short recordings. The videos are all less than 3 minutes, again, for bandwidth issues. So you sign up for a lesson, and the lesson, we assume, takes about an hour to finish. But most people take about a week because they'll do one section, they'll do the tasks, they'll come back to it. Sometimes the internet goes out, sometimes the time they are able to get online is late at night because they teach for long hours. So these lessons that we're looking at first are online lessons that you can do. Teachers can do at their own speed, at their own convenience. They can come back to it as many times as they want. Because they're enrolled in the community, every lesson asks teachers to meet. So asks them to share, for example, if you are doing a grammar, if you're talking about teaching grammar, we might ask you to talk about a grammar lesson that you taught. Or if you're talking about what it means to be a teacher, we'll ask about your own experience, because we want teachers to become comfortable thinking that what they're doing is okay. Their experience is valid. And we have a community of mentors that includes teachers from just about every continent now who are there to interact with the teachers, to give them a safe place to connect with other teachers and to be cheerleaders, you know, to understand their English. And for many of the teachers in our community, being understood in English by somebody who doesn't speak their native language is a first. They typically use a first language, or they use English with other people in their own country who have a tendency to understand them more. So it's a big breakthrough for a lot of them. I included a video of a Skype conversation I had with one of our participants just to show you that even with Skype, you know, his picture is not clear. And he has a hard time. He wanted to come here today, but he just doesn't have the internet access for Adobe. So community is a huge part, and that's where the collaboration goes on. And these are our mentors and other members of our community, faculty, our associates, and I'm not sure if Ariane is here today, but just teachers who are willing to give their time to connect with other teachers and to bring them into the international discussion, so that, yeah, you're going to recognize a lot of familiar faces, because when we started, we went out and asked some of the teachers we admired most online. And interestingly, over the years, no one has ever said no. I mean, everybody wants to help. We have people coming up at every event we do saying, how can I help? And what we found is that sharing is magic. And it's mostly because a lot of the teachers that we're working with have never had a voice. They've never had anybody outside of their own little school think that what they had to say was interesting. They never had to use English to talk their teaching. And as a result, they didn't have confidence in using English to talk about teaching. And so by connecting teachers, here we have me in Japan, and Naoko, who's in another part of Japan, and Trika, who's in Indonesia. And once teachers connect in iTDi, then they also connect on Facebook, and they also connect on Twitter, because now you have a familiar face, and you have a friend. And it has been so amazing that it really is like magic. I've seen teachers go from not having, Naoko in the middle has explained how her school got its name. She teaches at the Yellow Banana in school, and she loves how she came up with the name, because one of the times that we had coffee at a conference, another teacher told her that if you're just greeting somebody, you know, even if you say yellow banana, if you say it in such a way that it's clearly a greeting, everybody will understand you. And it gave Naoko the idea that English didn't have to be perfect to be understood. So she named her school Yellow Banana. And now every time we have an event, she gets practice telling teachers how she came up with that name. And she's gotten much more fluent about it just from repetition. And the Trika teaches in a kindergarten. And so the same things that you take for granted when you meet somebody on Facebook or when you meet somebody at a conference is new to a lot of teachers. And it's life-changing. And many of you don't remember the time that you weren't connected online. And yet there are a lot of teachers for whom it's still that magic, amazing access to the candy store of everything that's available out there. Sometimes we have workshops that are for teachers in our community. And for many of the teachers, they have never attended a webinar. And so there's a lot of coaching that goes on in what is a webinar and how do you get into an Adobe room and how you can learn from other teachers online. So when we had this last a special workshop with Ozga, that we had teachers from South America and from Indonesia and from Korea and from Japan and from Europe. And for many of the teachers, they were there because they knew the presenter, they knew how wonderful she was. But for many teachers, it was their first chance to be in a webinar because they'd always been afraid to ask, how do I do it? Where do I go? How do I get into the room? Because everybody talks about the webinar room. So how do you enter a room that doesn't really exist? And things that they felt too stupid to ask people who already knew how to do it all. Again, it's that first step. And so we set up a forum in iTDi, a private forum, for the teachers who attended this webinar. And we only intended it to go for the 3 weeks that we had the workshops. And it's still going. The teachers go in there and they talk about which tools they're using in class and how it went, and they've connected. And yes, and they have totally realized what they've been missing out on. And now they attend other webinars. Again, it's just the first step. Sometimes we have global webinars. And that's not too different than, not as big as the VRT, for sure. We only usually do one day, and it's only maybe 2 or 3 hours. But it's, for a lot of teachers, it's a chance for them to speakers who they normally would never have a chance to see. Like Penny Ur is in Israel, and I are in Japan. Kate was in Ecuador. Ozga's in Turkey. And so by having, and everybody volunteers their time, and we have a global webinar, and it gives the teachers in rural Brazil a chance to attend. It gives the teachers in the far-flung islands in Indonesia a chance to attend. And yes, a lot of them have a hard time staying in the room. They get kicked out a lot because of the bandwidth. But it's one of the reasons that everything is recorded and people can attend later. Sometimes our presenters have a hard time with bandwidth. So we've learned the hard way to usually record a backup before the day of the event. Any questions so far? You guys have been all quiet. Okay. Now, Lindsay was asking about the courses, so I'm going to talk. We've got 3 courses right now. 2 of them are asynchronous and 1 is live. Teacher development is for teachers who want to develop better teachers, and it's a lot like you would expect a traditional teacher development program to be, a CELTA or a TESOL certificate. It covers a lot of the same topics. The difference is that it covers them in very clear language. Simple English in lessons that take an hour. The authors of teacher development are Adrian Doff, Scott Thornbury, Stephen Herder, Francis Watkins, and Nicola Meldrum. So between them, there is some excellent writing. Pat, iTDi is funded by teachers. We had I don't know how many teachers who initially invested, but we decided that we wanted to keep everything grassroots. We wanted to keep everything teacher. Our motto is for teachers by teachers, and that's literal. Everybody from the board of, oh, thank you, Stephen. See, Stephen knows that. Everything from the board of directors to our faculty, to our associates, our mentors, our participants, everybody is a teacher. Everybody is in the community. It's actually very egalitarian because even Stephen will be the first to admit that he still has more to learn about teaching. And so do I. And so even though it's hard for teachers to get used to not thinking of us as experts, we're sincere in thinking that we from them too. Okay, so I want to take this. This is one excerpt from one of Scott's lessons. Anybody know what PPP stands for? I bet you do. Patrick. Pakistan People's Party. Okay. Or not. Yay, Alexandra, you got it there. Okay, so presentation, practice, and production. Sometimes a few other things, but basically that. Now, each lesson has, this one has a video of Scott talking about a PPP lesson. A very short 3-minute video. And then there's questions and activities to check teachers' understanding. So here I'm going to give a chance to test yourself the first 4 questions. So, if you're talking about a PPP lesson, grammar, let's say, a situation to provide a context is A, very important, or B, not very important. Now, you're at a disadvantage because you didn't get to hear Scott, because I didn't include the video because I didn't know that we could handle it. Very important or not very important? Not very important, okay? Demonstrations or pictures are A, helpful or not helpful? It's okay to change your answer. Example sentences are very important or not very important. And explanation of the rule is helpful or not helpful. And I know there's no way for me to tell which of these answers or which letters is there. Now, normally you would have a video of Scott on this page in order to see. But after you check your answers, you go to the answer page and there's immediate feedback. So you can see here that Scott did say that context is very important, but he also said that demos with pictures are not helpful. And there's something you agree with that. An example sentences are very important. But explanation is also very helpful. And if you disagree with Scott, that's okay, because that's what we have the forum. Teachers can go in and they can have a different opinion. And quite often it's because they teach in a different context. So when I've done this sample lesson with teachers who teach young learners, for example, they will say that demonstrations or pictures are very helpful. And so they always disagree with that. And part of the process in iTDi, the whole process of collaboration, is learning that it's okay to have a different answer, that it's okay to learn to have confidence in your own opinions too. And you can always go back and take the lesson again. So as long as you own the lesson, once you buy it, you own it forever. And then you take what you're learning in the lesson over to the lesson forum. And you talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of the PPP lesson, for example. Other teachers can read what you wrote, and they can reply to it. And you can reply to them, and you can interact. And we have 3 levels of forums in iTDi. Okay, there's the outer level, that is the social forum, and everybody who's a member of iTDi, and membership's free. Everybody who's a member has access to the social forum. But only teachers who are enrolled in a lesson have access to the lesson forum. So you are participating with other teachers who are in the same lesson that you are. Our second course is English for Teachers. And this is kind of different from courses that you might have seen before. It's for teachers who want to strengthen their skills while talking about teaching English. What we found, a lot of teachers who need to improve their language skill don't want to take another general English course. They've been taking them all their lives, and it hasn't really helped. So what they really want to do is talk about teaching. They don't want to talk about making an appointment. They don't want to talk about making a trip to a new place. They don't want to talk about shopping or souvenirs or anything like that. They want to talk about lesson planning. They want to talk about learning styles. They want to talk about the same things you enjoy talking about. And so we wanted to make sure that the language we were using in English for Teachers, which I guess the easiest way to describe it is as an English for specific purposes, if you will. It's English for teachers who want to become better at using English. And we found 20 teachers in various parts of the world who were already online, who are mostly English speakers as their second or third language. And we asked them to have discussions about teaching. And from those discussions, we pulled the language that seemed to be the most productive. And we used that to form the basis of the course. So we know that the language teachers need to learn because it's the language that teachers used in discussing teaching. I hope that makes sense. But here's an example. So because it's a language lesson, every lesson has a listening and pronunciation section, vocabulary, grammar, and reading. And what we found was that a lot of the language that teachers needed had phrasal verbs, collocations, things that are really hard to teach in traditional language classes because they're more of a sense of developing a corpus or developing a feel for it as opposed to learning rules that go with it. So, for example, here, can you tell me, teaching word cards and moving them around help some of my students make do with and make sense of. I pair students with different styles so they can look after or look forward to each other during activities. I often ask students what they feel like or look after, a little formatting there, since their choices often reflect their learning styles. And it's important for me to look after or look forward to different learning styles. So the context is teaching, because we hope that all teachers will go through English for Teachers, graduate and go into teacher development, graduate from that and maybe do a CELTA. But we also know that for a lot of teachers, English for Teachers may be the only professional development they get. So we wanted to make sure that they were getting good, solid professional development, even though the focus is on English skills. You get immediate feedback, unlimited repetition. And then again, you go to the forum. And by sharing their experience, and it's a discussion course, there aren't as many right answers except for the grammar questions. And so when you have your turn, you get to write about your own experiences, activities that you've learned. So you get the validation of hearing from teachers, oh, that's a good idea. Or you get a chance to read what other teachers are doing. And it builds confidence and it builds fluency. So you get accuracy in the lessons and fluency in the forum. And certificate at the end of every lesson, whether it's in teacher development or English for Teachers, because in most of the world, certificates matter. You need to take them back to your school to show that you're doing something. And I've been surprised at how much certificates matter. Our third course is Advanced Teaching Skills. And that's for teachers, and these are live classes, Lindsay. So advanced courses for teachers who want to challenge their teaching idea. So the most recent one we had was with John Slow on breaking rules. And so for 5 weeks, teachers had readings from him. They joined in the Adobe discussions, and then they went to the forums to talk about applying his breaking rules in their own teaching. And I think Stephen might have dates for it, but I know he's going to reprise the course, I think in June maybe. And again, the forum was only designed for the course, and it's still going on because teachers keep sharing. So every week we have the online discussion, and again, it's recorded because not all teachers live in the time zone and because not all teachers can access it live. Okay, from June 8th, so there'll be more information on the website. And how has this helped teachers grow? These are all teachers from our community, and what you'll see is that they connect with each other on Facebook, for example, and they connected their classrooms. They're learning how to use what technology they have to connect their students with other students. Even if it's one computer, shared with 30 students. We get emails. Most recent one here from Psych, who'll be speaking after Stephen, just saying, I dedicate my life. I want to help you guys. What can I do to help? And what has happened most, we were a little afraid that teachers would come in, they'd get confidence, and then they'd go away. They wouldn't need us anymore. But what has happened instead is that teachers come in, they get the confidence, they improve their own skills, they improve their English skills, and rather than leaving us, they bring in new teachers. So they become mentors. So they come in and they connect with teachers in the community, and then they go back to Facebook and they go back to Twitter and they connect with teachers and they bring them in too. You can read more about the testimonials over on the iTDi page, just a few that are up there. Teachers who have found that their involvement with iTDi has made a difference, and many of them have moved on to mentoring other teachers. So we have many languages. I think our community is like 90 countries or so. So we have many languages, but only one message, which is that we are for teachers and by teachers. That's our team in Brazil up on top and our team in Indonesia on the bottom. And more teams are developing in more countries all around the world because it's grassroots. Teachers have had a lot of experience with top-down government reforms, and it hasn't worked. And what they've seen and what we believe is that the best way to change education is to give teachers a chance to improve. When teachers improve, education improves. When education improves, everything gets better. And Pat was asking funding, which I'll tell you guys about in just a minute, but basically, this is our community. We have teachers from all of these countries and more now. This is an old map, all working together to become better teachers. And one of the things that I pointed out earlier, okay, we are funded by teachers, but a lot of the teachers that we meet around the world aren't able to pay for lessons. Sometimes it's a matter of cost. If your monthly salary is less than $400 a month, $9 for a lesson can be a hardship. In many countries, teachers aren't allowed to send currency outside their country. In many countries, you can't use PayPal if you don't have an international credit card. And in a lot of the countries we try to reach, PayPal doesn't trust the banks, so they won't operate. And so what we've tried to do, Tunisia is one of those countries. Indonesia is a country. Iran is another country. There are more countries that cannot pay than there are who can, which is, again, back to that iceberg. At the top of the iceberg are the teachers that you'll see most online professional development aimed at because they have money. They can pay, and they're used to doing things online, so they're used to paying online. The teachers under the waterline need the professional development even more, and they're the ones who have a hard time paying. So what our hope is that eventually any teacher who wants to improve as a teacher can have an opportunity to do so, because teachers who have a little bit more can donate so that teachers who don't have can join. And we believe in the power of teachers. We believe in their willingness to help each other. And we've found that they've been very generous with their time and money, because a profession that doesn't work for all of us eventually doesn't really work for any of us. So we need these teachers in the conversation. The website is on the bottom there. And I hope that if you aren't familiar with iTDi, I know some of you are already members, but I hope you'll go over and get a free account so you can check out the forums, you can meet the teachers who are there, and that you can join us. And I know that there are a lot of teachers there who would love to meet you, and I think you can learn something from them too. And I think Stephen told me this morning that we were about 1,600 or 1,700 in the community now. And that's all I really had to say. So it looks like it was good timing too. I'm just about an hour. If there's any quick questions, I can try to answer. But otherwise, I will be around on Facebook and easy to find if you have questions later. Thank you. It is a very worthwhile project. It's the most important thing I've ever done, to be honest. And most important to me anyway. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I'm very proud to be associated with iTDi. And there's always room for more, so we're always happy for more help if anybody wants to join.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Barbara, for that talk and for sharing all the great work you're doing there with iTDi. If there are any questions quickly, you could share them in the chat box, or I can help you out with asking your question via microphone if you have one.